Welcome to the Bizprint tutorial series. In this series, we will explain the available features of this platform and how to work with it. In this video, we will cover how to manage the shared properties between most of the elements in this page, and effects of each property on the element and the resulting printed element. When an element is selected in the template, the properties sidebar would show all the associated properties of the respective element. To verify that you're viewing the properties of your desired element, you would need to look at the top of the sidebar. You should see the title of the element and the type of your desired element. In this instance, I have selected a text element with the title text copy, and at the top of my properties sidebar, I am seeing text element followed by text copy, which is the title of my selected element. All elements have a series of shared properties, namely their position, denoted by X and Y, their size, denoted by W and short for width and H short for height, their relative positioning, such as Rx and Ry, denoted by relative, which are the abbreviation for relative X position and relative Y position, and we also have two layout specific properties which we'll explain shortly. In general, you can reposition and resize elements, change their relative to element, and manage their repeatability or their mirrored property. To position an element, you can either change their X and Y values in the properties sidebar or drag and drop the element. For example, if I can change the X value of this element or decrease its Y value, or I can just grab that element and drag and drop it in the page to wherever position that I would like to have it. Note that the positions values are calculated from the top left of the page to the bottom right. In this instance, if I place the element here, I would be able to see values very close to 0. You may also use your mouse to change these numerical values. To do that, hover over the title of the property, for example the X, and hold your mouse down and then change the mouse's direction, and by doing so it'll increase the value or rather decrease it. To resize an element, you can either change their W or H values in the properties sidebar. For example, I want to change this to 50 and change this to 200 to increase their height, or we could use the resizing handles located at the 4 corners of the element's bounding box. These 4, as you can see. And by drag and dropping our mouse cursor while holding down one of these corners, we can resize the element. In general, an element's position is relative to their parent, like the elements we have added that are positioned relative to the page. Sometimes we would like an element to appear in the printed page with respect to the position of another element. To do that, we would need to attach the element's relative pointer from its parent to the desired element. To do so, we will hover over our desired element and start our drag from one of the 4 relative pointing circles. For example, this one. If I start my drag, I can see that the respective relativity line will appear, and I can attach it to any of the other ones. For example, this circle on this text box. And just to repeat that process again, I'm gonna do this. And as you can see now, this element is added up to this element. Rather, it is positioned relatively to the other text element. If we want a specific element to appear on every page copy of the page, we can check the appropriate checkbox in the properties sidebar, which is appear on every page copy. Note that by doing that, the element's sidebar categorization will also change. So if we take a look at our entity sidebar, the elements section, it is now categorized into two different categories, the repeated throughout category and the repeated once category. It is noteworthy that this property would mean that in case that one of our dynamic elements values surpassed a single printed page, the repeated throughout elements will also exist on the other printed pages. For example, if we are printing an Avery label element that requires 3 physical pages to be printed, our printed throughout elements, for example this text that we have set as printed throughout, will exist on all of those 3 physical pages. Finally, the mirrored property of an element makes the element to appear mirrored relative to the y-axis. So that would mean left and right on each physical page repeat. In this instance, that would mean that if I do that on every repeated physical page, this element would once come and be appeared on the right side of the page, and on the other page it would be come here and be repeated on this side of the page. So they would be mirrored through the y-axis. And with that, I think that would end our tutorial for the shared properties of our elements in the Biz Print platform. Thank you for watching.